All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. It's really great to have each and every one of you here today. So today's October 29th, 2019. This is episode number 30. And what we're going to be taking a look at today is trait number 28. This is all about playing the game. This is the game player. So before we jump in and get started, let's say hello to our panel. So let's start with Natalie. Hey, Natalie, welcome. Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Yay, I made
it.
Sorry for last week. I got a little distracted.
Well, great to have you back. It was your week off. That's okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, welcome, Natalie. And how about you, Chris?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So glad you're here. This is going to be a fun one.
Great. Thanks for being here. And Lavina.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Let's play the game.
Woohoo. Let's take a look at that. All right. So again, welcome to all of you joining us live via our Zoom room, and those of you who are here live on our Facebook Live, and all of you watching via the recordings, either on Vimeo or YouTube. So welcome. So let's jump in and take a look at playing the game. So when we take a look at trait 28, it is the game player. And once again, you can see that we're still in the survival instinct, and it's an individual trait, and it is all about playing the game. And it's the challenge of life itself, you know, playing the game of life. And it's the awareness to struggle for purpose or not. And it's the transitoriness of power and the transitoriness of influence, as well as the potential of intuition. And the potential of intuition is to know in the now whether it is of value to struggle or not. This is also part of the strength of tenaciousness, right? Sticking with it and you know, kind of overcoming that struggle. And this is an awareness function. There is always a fear here in the awareness function, and this happens to be the fear that life has no purpose unless you take risks. You know, this can be the fear of death, but it's more than just the fear of death. It's the fear of dying without fully living your purpose. There we go. And I think that's one of the magical things about BG5 and about human design, is giving you the keys to really be able to see, you know, what is your purpose and how do you fulfill that? And being able to see that life does have purpose, and we're all here for a reason. So I would love to let's just kick off the discussion. And Chris, anything that you would like to start us off with?
I knew you were going to ask that. Typically I have something to say. Today I'm making some observations about the energies that I've been noticing over the last couple days that we've been in trait 28. And one of the things that I'm noticing is it's like there's a lot of catalytic energy, like let's move, let's do something, let's go for it, let's get in the game, like really people seeing the rules of the game differently, experiencing the game differently, and the game of life being the game of life. And I don't have this in my design, and so it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I don't have it, I don't pay as much attention to it.
Right,
honestly.
right.
But it's kind of fun to be just watching and seeing what's happening. So I'm curious to hear what Lavina and Natalie and you also have to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's taking risks too, right? Yeah. This is all, the game player is all about also taking those risks. Yeah. So what about for you, Lavina, because you do have this in your design?
So for me, it is part of my future direction, and I'm not quite there yet. But what I do notice, this for me is called shaking hands with the devil. It was one of the scariest things that I read about in My Human Design, and went, what the heck does that mean? And basically it's when the game turns into a struggle, the game of life, the acceptance of any allegiance in order to win. So in my environment, there are going to be people who are risk takers, people who have the potential recognition of what risks to take that will make life worth living, that will make life worth living beyond just survival, that it makes life meaningful. Yeah. And this is a love trait. It's a trait that is romantic and recognizes the other as something you cannot live without. So there's this longing and this passion and this romance that's a potential in my environment of what I'm attuned to when I'm living my life. So I remember when I was younger, I had a small stint with reading romance novels or, you know, like watching, what are those so tacky soap opera? Is it soap opera?
Yeah, the soap operas, yes.
Oh, when I was a teenager, yeah, getting hooked on that in the summertime. Oh, you know, that hormonal period of your life. So there's always this struggle when you watch those, or when you listen to audiobooks or read those, there's this fight. Like, life has no meaning without you, or without this risk that I'm taking that makes life feel alive and vital. And these are people who will jump out of airplanes. Hi, I've done that. Jump out of airplanes just to feel like life has some kind of thrill in it, you know? Yeah. So there's some more qualities for you, Chris, to recognize about what this is like, having carried this for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Really beautifully said, Lavina.
Some embarrassing stuff there, but oh well. It is what it is.
And what do you see, Natalie? Anything that you see?
Well, I like to think of myself as taking risks as well, but I have the other side. I have the 38 of the fighter, so kind of confusing, you know. I also fight for having purpose, but maybe not in the same way as Lavina would do. And yeah, so what I find also with clients and students, that if I say the game player, they're kind of confused, right? So taking risks to make life worthwhile, and that you because the tenaciousness, the full strength, is also about oh, I have a beautiful Dutch sentence for this. So that life is worthwhile living. Huh? So you also struggle for those that cannot struggle for themselves, and then taking risks for them as well, and for yourself. So it's an individual process, but you also empower others with it. Yeah. So I like last time, it's so difficult to pick it all apart, because I do feel like you, Lavina, I did take some risk. I went backpacking on my own through whole South America. I actually went backpacking. I was 24, backpacking through Colombia. Can you imagine? And I did a lot of those.
Oh my God!
A lot of those treks just by bus, or you know, where I knew that it were really risky areas. I did that part with plane, but I know one piece that, you know, in hindsight, if my mother would have known. So yeah, but I you know, it makes life worthwhile. It was, you know, a wonderful experience for me to be able to have half a year of traveling through South America. But yeah, so
yeah.
You know, another thing that I've noticed this week, because we've had the whole strength activated, is particularly today, just this real sinking in and sadness, and just no energy, no motivation to do something. So Chris, you were mentioning like people are, let's do this thing, let's go. Sometimes it can also turn inward, and we have this experience of moodiness or melancholy or sadness. And that's what I've been experiencing, just this, nah, I'm not going to fight. I don't have any fight in me. This, whatever's going through me right now, I just want to sink into the bed and do nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of the individual traits of melancholy.
Yeah, Exactly. It is individual circuitry, and it comes in a pulse. We're not always ready. Most of the times there's nothing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's the spike to take a risk and do something and go for it if you're inspired, if you have this pulse to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the melancholy if nothing's happening, and you know, what makes life worthwhile.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I, like Chris, I don't have either of the traits. I don't, on the other side is the fighter. So it's a very interesting strength, this tenaciousness. You have the fighter on one side, which Natalie has. You have the game player on the other side. So you can see that there's a lot of struggle here, right? There's a lot of striving, there's a lot of searching. And if we take a look at it, you know, in the individual circuitry, you know, it's not easy being an individual, right? And where we're moving to, we're moving out of the era of planning, we're moving into the era of the individual, and it can be a fight. It can be a struggle. It cannot, sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes we get lost. Sometimes it feels like there's no purpose. Sometimes it feels like there's no reason, right? So and that's part of where the melancholy that Lavina was talking about comes from, right? So again, you might be up for the fight, right? And ready to fight and have that adrenalized fighting energy, or it may be like, what's the use? What's the purpose?
But the fight, so yeah, so what is difficult about it is just not, it's not fighting for the fight itself. It's to find meaning and purpose in life, and that's when you want to struggle. That's when you want to fight, but not any fight. Right. And not just because life gives you the challenges of having a crisis with your family members or whatever, you know. Maybe that fight doesn't give meaning and purpose to your life, and you go like, you know, it blows over or whatever. So it's really about this meaning and purpose and the causes you want to fight for that make life worthwhile.
Right. And on the shadow side, it can show up on fighting for everything and anything.
Exactly.
Right.
So
when it's not operating correctly, you get into fights that really aren't worth it. And here, in playing the game of life, what battles are worth fighting? Because there is a reason, because there is a purpose. And where are you just fighting just to fight? Right? Where are you battling, you know, or taking risks just to take risks, just to feel alive? I mean, there's a lot of people that do very extreme things. And for some people, it is correct. And for others, you know, they feel, you know, it's like maybe dead inside, or like nothing's really happening. They're trying to wake that up. They're taking the risk, which it may be a good risk, or it might not be such a good risk.
Right. Might be one of those risks where it's like, here, hold my beer. And you're like, oh, this is not going to end well. Yeah. It could also be like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't do that, but yeah.
you were the person to hold the beer.
Yeah, I'm the holder. You're like, oh boy. I got 911 on speed dial. Let's go. Okay.
But I think, you know, but Natalie makes a good point. Really, where that struggle, you know, where is it worth it? Where does it give us, you know, really gives us alive, has us come alive, and really allows us to stand as who we are as an individual. That's really the purpose behind it. And this particular day, again, we're on trait 28 as a game player. It's quality 5, which is treachery. This is the messenger. And of course, people can you know, this is one of the ones that's often misunderstood. I think this was one of Ra's favorite ones, you know, quality 5, treachery. Sure. It sounds awful. You know, it's the theme of stirring the pot or not. Now, again, there's always two sides to everything. And you know, the more that you get into this, you know, you actually really appreciate the words such as treachery and what it's all about. So this can be the abuse of trust, or this can simply be the breaking of trust. So for example, the elevation is the intuitive capacity of the game player to provoke struggle amongst others, and the manipulation of the collective that, while pitting one faction against the other, does not directly support or reject either. All right, that's one side. I think we see that a lot in our current world. The other side, the challenge, and what's very interesting is if you happen to have this as your life work, it actually is in detriment. So it's just the way that it's locked into detriment. Anyone who has this as a life work theme, it's locked into this detriment. And the challenge is the intuitive recognition in times of struggle to know when alliances must be broken. That's why I have this employment contract, tearing it in half. Knowing when alliances must be broken and the destabilizing effect it has on others. So, for example, if you were to leave a business, right? If you were to, all of a sudden to quit, right? It's, you know, when it has to be broken, the employee contract is broken, and there's going to be a destabilizing effect within the business once you leave, right? This is the breaking of allegiances with trusted forces to align with more powerful forces. And it's attended destabilization of the whole. And again, the reason it brings destabilization is because, for example, you may have worked someplace for a very long time. You know, it's you know, they trust you, you're going to be around for a long time, you know, you've been committed for a long time, and then you get offered this amazing job with this company that you've been looking at working for forever. And so in a sense, it's breaking the alliance with the trusted forces, right, where you've been working for a long time, to align with more powerful forces, maybe a new job, a new opportunity. And again, it's going to cause some destabilization because they've trusted you. They thought you were going to be there. You know, they hadn't thought that you were going to leave, so they don't have anybody to replace you. So it's going to destabilize things a bit. So you can see, like I said, treachery sounds really bad, but it really is, in a sense, you know, it's the treachery for those that you kind of leave behind, that, you know, where you've changed your alliances. And they're like, you know, it's the treachery of those, in the sense, that now have to deal with you not being there anymore.
I think it's also important to note that in both of these, it's the intuitive capacity or the intuitive recognition that, and because it's an individual, and that individual knowing that's like, everything's fine, everything's fine. Nope, I need to, now I have clarity that I need to change something up. And, you know, the individual just intuitively knowing this is the next, I need to do this, I need to move in this, and regardless of what's going to happen over here. And how it feels in some ways more fluid to following the energy, if you will, of the game. Where is the energy of the game going, right? And some people might look, the tribe or the collective might look at it and say, you made a commitment, you can't just change sides now, like it just doesn't work that way. And it's sort of like, well, that's we decided to all agree on that. And the individual says, I'm not playing that game. I'm kind of playing more an individual game here. Yeah. But it's affecting the tribe and the collective.
Yeah.
So, and that's another, and that can be, you know, some people don't play the game because they can intuitively know, oh, I don't want to look bad, I don't want to burn bridges, I don't want to do that. And they might really deplete themselves over time by staying in a place that is not the right game for them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Did you want to add something, Lavina?
Well, I'm just stoked that you added all of that, Chris, because it's a really good point to recognize that individuals play their own game, and we don't necessarily see things eye to eye with the world at large, and we don't have the same kind of blood is thicker than water loyalty that the bonds of the tribe do. So this is the fifth quality, is always the epitome of any trait. And to see that the epitome of the trait of the individual, the intuition, is treachery, is to break those bonds, if you will, the struggle, provoking struggle against others. I can recognize this as an unconscious 5 in past experiences of observing myself when people were in struggles. So the not self mind process goes, how can I come out on top in this situation? What's going on? Is there a way for me to, get in there and be able to be seen as somebody who can either save the day or take advantage of the situation, provoking struggle amongst others?
Yeah.
It's just part of the game.
Right. And this is the messenger too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is also the heretic, right? There's something new, something different, something that's not the status quo. So not only is it individual, right? It's also something that can either, come in times of crisis and, disrupt things, right? Or be able to be the savior, the general, the leader, as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's a very, very interesting piece that we're looking at. I'd love to see if there are any comments or any questions either in our Facebook Live or in our Zoom room. Or if anyone would like to share, if you're here present in our Zoom room, if there is any insight or any ahas or anything that you would like to share.
I'd like to call out Dylan, and he actually has his hand raised because he
Yeah.
has this as part of his design.
Yeah, that would be great. Hi, Dylan.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
You guys hear me good?
Yes, perfect.
My contribution would be sort of in a question, because I have that channel of struggle, and seeing that human design has become more and more of a synthesis the more I learn about it. I'm kind of feeling like whatever struggle or game you would be playing would have to do with maybe your personality sun sign and some of the incarnation cross, and as well as the nodes. But it's almost to say I can see in my life the struggle in the game that I'm playing, and it's a very spiritual game because my design is very spiritual, like with that 54.1 spearheading my personality sun.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, beautifully shared, Dylan. And again, I think what Dylan also brings up too is that, we're taking this one trait and we always need to look at the wholeness of your design, but it's also interesting to kind of focus in to just kind of get the nuances of this particular trait and then sort of zoom out and see how it fits into the whole context. So exactly what Dylan said, and that's one of the things that we take a look at, in the foundation course, as well as the BG5 certification courses, is really, what are all of these elements and how do we put them all together to get that synthesis? And what Dylan was sharing, taking a look at, what is your life work and how does it play in? And, where are you playing the game? Where are you struggling? Where do you have this tenaciousness? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Dylan.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah. Beautiful. And anything that you see, Lavina, in the Facebook Live?
No, it's pretty quiet today. I shared it everywhere, but it's very surprising, actually. There's only 11 people watching, which is normally a lot more than that. So
yeah.
Very quiet.
Everybody's quiet today. Everybody's not playing the game today.
Treachery.
They're all like, yeah. They're sleeping. They're like, yeah, not today.
Yeah, and it's snowing here in Colorado, so it's kind of like, just want to stay cozy and warm. It's really, really cold, and you don't want to be out driving. So it's one of those, get a cup of tea and get under the covers kind of day. Yeah,
I can agree to that. With what I've shared so far, how the mind will constantly second guess and judge, like, oh, should I have said that? But that's really what it is. But man, don't tell them, because man, what are they going to think of you? This is a really, really challenging trait. Recently, I had a person in my life who was very close to me die, and this was his personality sun. And it was in my same line activation, the quality of 2. And that was his life work, and that's my unconscious direction. And when we see that in somebody's design, that's a karmic relationship that you have with the other. And what he always saw in me, and what he was always reaching out to me to see if I was okay, was that my life was a struggle more than most. Seeing that it was a really challenging life, this life, more than most. And he always reached out to make sure that I was okay. And that's one of the things that we can see in this. One of the things that's really interesting about his design, a lot of other things, activations come into play, but he was a firefighter. He was a risk taker. He risked his life to save other people's lives. That's what made his life meaningful. It was in the second quality, it's the life work of the unexpected, people who are catapulted into sudden positions of leadership. He died a captain. Hundreds of people came out to his funeral. Helicopters flew and threw orchids into the water. I mean, it was just a massive thing for our small little town. He died in the hospital that I was born in. And the kind of leadership that we see, I mean, you don't normally think of these traits down here, individual circuitry, very much leaders, but they're leaders in their own right of themselves. Yeah. So that's another thing that I felt like I could share.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Really
I'm really
powerful.
glad you said that, because I think that the leadership, first of all, I'm sorry for that, I know you miss him. And second of all, that leadership, that individual leadership it templates for the tribe, it templates for the collective, it templates for the rest of us, what it means to, to change the way we do things. Without that individual circuitry, without that transformation, that catalyst for changing up the game and changing up somewhat the rules of the game. Last week we talked about rules of the game in Trait 50. Here it's like, even poking at some of that as well. Like, does this still fit? Is this still gonna all, work together? And so it's really cool how it all goes together.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And one of the things that we take a look at also is, kind of exploring part of that life work theme and taking a look at a famous individual that has this as their core essence. And I was looking at Winona Ryder. And so the life work theme, and this is for the 28-5, right? So the life work theme is alignment. Remember, we're still in bonding. And this is, you are reflective and know how to take advantage of the unexpected and are able to leave the old behind and align with the new when opportunities arise. And so it's very interesting, the characters that she plays. And the characters that she plays are often these sort of alienated outside roles. And it's very interesting, the role that actually had her, her breakthrough role was in the movie Beetlejuice. And kind of the story, what she really kind of illustrated what this life work theme is about. She was a goth teenager in Beetlejuice, named Lydia, and her family moves into a haunted house, and she quickly finds herself the only human with a strong empathy towards the ghosts and their situation. So again, it was this alignment then with the ghosts. So this reflective and knowing how to take advantage of the unexpected, right? It would be pretty unexpected moving into a haunted house, and to be able to leave the old behind and align with the new when the opportunities arise. And so often the characters that she plays often represent that, where she, aligns with the new when new opportunities arise. So I just thought it was interesting that was her breakout role, and that also is really an illustration of her life work as well.
She was also really good in Stranger Things as the mom.
Yeah.
And just brilliant. I thought she did a brilliant job. And it kind of was along those lines as well.
Yep, exactly. So she's in the Age of Innocence. She was in Alien Resurrection. She was in Black Swan. She was in The Crucible. So in a lot of those different movies. Yeah. Anything else that you recognize or wanted to share about it, or anything that you see? No.
It's,
All right. Well,
I really love how especially with actresses and actors and comedians, etc., how it shows in the roles they play, or in how they act on stage, how their life work theme actually shows up, right? That's what we've been seeing all of those weeks, and it also gives you a better understanding, and the way you present it, of what the life work theme is about. So I really like these slides and these explanations of the trait and the life work theme.
Right. Because it really makes it come to life. And again, when you
Yeah,
can see those characters, you know, and you can see the type of roles that they play, you can often see that life work show up, because that's, you know, in a sense, they get, you know, quote unquote typecast, you know, in that
yeah.
area, because it's, in a sense, the energy that they actually carry. It's very interesting.
And speaking of typecast, we can see that she has an undefined identity function. And oftentimes, a lot of those flexible actors or actresses have that as an undefined function. So they're very flexible, playing multiple different roles. And still, with that 5 being very attractive, using her energy to seduce people, to call them out, to get them recognizing a truth. We can see that she is a mental advisor as her type. And so, very intelligent human being that really sees and recognizes patterns. And I can't help but remember one of the reasons that she kind of fell out of favor, fell out of grace, was being caught stealing, you know, being a little bit of a klepto. So taking a risk, 58 or 28, taking a risk to she didn't need to steal anything. She had a ton of money, but to risk something to make life feel a little bit more like that adrenaline rush, a little bit more alive. That might have been one of the reasons why she did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. All right.
And I'd never known her design. I always really liked her.
Yeah.
And when you have that in your nodal environment, the direction, future and past direction, you're really attuned to, like, picking up on these people who have that as their life work. So that's another interesting dynamic, to see the confirmation of our attractors, how we're attracted to seeing and being in each other's life. She's not in my life, but I've seen a lot of the movies and been really interested, curious to look, to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, yeah, I'm also kind of feeling that sort of, you know, that sort of heaviness, that kind of melancholy. So I think we're just going to wrap it up for today, unless there's anything else. So
I'm gonna
I
go
just,
snuggle up and drink
right,
tea.
exactly. Here's Lavina's design. So again, you can see it. This is what Lavina was talking about in having the 28 too in her future direction. I don't know if there's anything else, Lavina, you've already shared about it, if there's anything else that you wanted to add.
Shared a lot. It's enough.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So again, if you're new to BG5 and human design, you can get your free report at the BG5businessinstitute.com. Also, if you want to find any of the past BG5 live episodes, you can go to our calendar. The other way you can find it is going to YouTube or Vimeo as well. You can find it there and just search for BG5 Live. And again, we do have the Profit Potential workshops coming up in November. So coming up very, very soon. So you're aware of that. So Chris will be teaching drive and stamina, and I will be teaching willpower. So that's coming up very soon, next month, which that's next month, I guess, is next week.
Next week.
Not only next month, next
week. Right. And I'm actually teaching not next week, but the following week. I had to put it off a little bit to take care of my mom. But so that's going to be starting up. So just be aware of that. And again, a huge thank you and shout out for everyone who has joined us. Again, opening it up, if there's anyone who is here live in our Zoom room that would like to share anything to wrap everything up, anything in the Facebook Live. And what we'll do is we'll just wrap up here. Any last words as far as what to look at, what to pay attention to in the next couple of days as we're still in the 28th?
In the Facebook group, Carolina is mentioning ending Girl Interrupted, which was one of my favorites too.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So, so anything, Natalie, last words to wrap things up?
Well, don't know how to put it, but that it's really about the struggle for finding meaning and purpose, and feeling that life is worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's what it is about.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
looking for that around you and seeing that show up. And if nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Don't worry about it.
I love that. Yeah, if it's time to grab your tea and get under the blankets, then that's good.
I'll share that my husband has the the 38 on the other side, but not the 28, and and he has the survival instinct defined. So there's a little gap there, and an interesting conversation that we had yesterday, really around this, where something that he was sort of resisting and sort of pushing against, and released the struggle of that, leaned into the game, if you will, and had a huge epiphany, a huge shift in his sense of purpose and the meaning of things. And so one invitation for you to consider, whether you have trait 28 defined or undefined, is where are you struggling? As Natalie mentioned earlier, where are you struggling? And you could actually win the fight, win the game by surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to, be thinking about this week, is where am I really, really struggling? And if I let go of that struggle, I might actually have a deeper experience of the meaning of life and what I'm here for and what the game is all about. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And how about for you, Lavina?
That was beautiful. One of the things that I thought maybe might be helpful for people is, because this is a trait that is activating everyone, it's a global conditioning pattern, that everybody's going to feel like maybe to hold on to something, or you could conversely be able to let go of something. So the key is not to let go of something that you actually should hold on to, and to not hold on to something that you actually should let go of. So the only way through this is not a mind's process, it's leaning back into your decision-making strategy. So that's just an encouragement, especially for those of you who do not have this particular function defined, the survival instincts. Make sure that you are leaning into your decision-making strategy, and don't do anything spontaneously this week.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And yeah, I think, and it is, like enjoy the game. One of the things that Ra often said is really about being the passenger. And part of being the passenger, is enjoying the movie, enjoying the show, enjoying the struggle, and enjoy what's on the other side of the struggle. It's all a part of the game, and allowing it to unfold without trying to push it, without trying to force it, without trying to make it happen. And sometimes there's nothing that's happening, and that's okay. Allow nothing to happen, so then you are ready for those times when something does happen. So it's allowing your life to unfold, and allowing you yourself to take the risks if it's correct. Again, as Lavina was saying, following your decision-making strategy, and not taking the risks if you're trying to push it, if you're trying to force it, if you're making those decisions based on holding on to something that's not good for you, or letting go of something that actually is good for you. Enjoy the game of life, and know that there is a purpose, right? There is a reason. And, sometimes you have to struggle for it. And some of that struggle is part of where the meaning comes from. And I think this is really important, that oftentimes we think that life should be all beautiful, roses, perfect. But where the learning comes from is from the struggle. Where the learning comes from is when things are tough. Where the learning comes from is when there's treachery, right? or what was it, Lavina, that you said, you know, making contracts with the devil, you know, or whatever
shaking
that
hands.
yeah, shaking hands with the devil, or, you know, or treachery, or, you know, some of the words that we may find that are like, ooh, that doesn't sound so good, you know, but there's learning behind that. You know, and again, the life work theme here is this alignment. So it's kind of aligning to those forces, bonding with those forces that are going to support us moving forward. So, so it's really excellent and great to have each and every one of you here live with us in our Zoom room. Thank you for participating, everybody, in our BG5 Live. And again, if you're listening via the recording on Facebook or Vimeo. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And look forward to seeing you all next week. All right. Bye, everyone.